Hello, everyone. Good morning and good afternoon. I'm Ken Baker, and I'm the Oracle Alliance Director for Apps Associate. First of all, I wanted to thank everybody for joining our webinar today on Oracle Fusion Analytics, also known as FAW, or Fusion Analytics Warehouse. We're fortunate to have both Oracle and Apps Associate co-present today, and I have to say it's just a great topic. And we've got some presenters that are very well versed in analytics. Before we get started, I just had a few housekeeping items I wanted to mention. First of all, you probably saw that this is being recorded. Everyone is going to be on mute, but we will have a Q&A session at the end, probably about 10 minutes or so. I also ask if you have any questions, please enter them in the Q&A session of Zoom versus the chat. Once again, thanks for joining. I'm going to turn over to Ben Stockton, who's one of the Oracle sales leaders for FAW.
Thanks, Ken, and thank all of you for being with us today. I likewise am very excited about this session. I'm gonna myself. I run Fusion Analytics, the solution specialist team, primarily on ERP and supply chain. I'm joined by my colleague, Lane Devereaux, who's going to be manning the Q&A. So like Ken mentioned, please feel free to throw your questions in the chat. He'll be answering some as we go, and we'll address the ones that we need to live after the webinar. And I'm joined with Miles Gilsonen from Apps Associates. I've known Miles for many, many years. Miles and Apps Associates have been a great partner for Oracle Analytics, and specifically with Fusion Analytics. We're engaged with Apps Associates tightly across many customer engagements for evaluation, for implementation, and for customer success. So very excited to have this group here today. Let's take a look at the agenda.
Sorry, Ben. Go ahead.
So I'm gonna start it off. I'm just gonna level set strategic positioning, why we created this product, Fusion Analytics, why it's relevant for all of you as a Fusion application customer and or prospect. And then Miles is going to get into some aspects that I think aren't talked about enough these days, right? And it's once you have this data foundation, how do you customize it to your organizational or industry specific needs, right? How do you maximize this platform based on what you get out of the box and how you can take it to add additional layers of value and productivity within your organization. So a few of those things include machine learning aspects, as well as overall business benefits. We're going to get into a great demonstration of analytic extensions and what that looks like when we talk about extending Fusion Analytics out. And certainly talk about some of the quick start offerings, right? To get all of you up and running as quickly as possible and getting you as far along in that analytic journey as we possibly can. So with that, Miles, let's go to the next one. So if we think about why Fusion Analytics is so exciting, why everyone's talking about it, it's really because it's uniquely differentiated in the market, right? This is the value of Oracle being a top tier application company and a top tier technology company. So when we say leverage your existing investment in your applications, when you implement HCM cloud or ERP cloud, you're making a lot of decisions around how you're going to structure your business. What are the job duties and roles involved? How are we going to structure our organizational hierarchy? What are our hierarchies and dimensions in the chart of accounts going to look like, right? So all of those decisions we leverage from the security to the way you look at your data. And we manage that analytic process by grabbing the data, transforming it, making it in an analytical capacity so that your end users have true self-service. And we also populate industry best practice KPIs, dashboards, and reports based on the data that's being captured in each of your Fusion applications. While all at the same time, Oracle's ensuring that it never breaks, right? So you can always have confidence in your data and always have business continuity when you look at your reports and dashboards. And so what it really means is getting to that last mile of an analytic project, right? I've been in the analytics world for about 9 years, Miles even more than me. And the majority of the effort in any analytic project is just defining where the data resides that you need, right? then how are we going to access it? How are we going to move it? How are we going to model it? That's the majority of the effort in these projects. So Fusion Analytics is going to get you to the point where all of your Fusion data is quote unquote analytics ready and exposed to your business users to start making decisions and taking action on that data. And we do this by the pre-built data foundation that comes with Fusion Analytics. So as you can see here, it covers a variety of Oracle Cloud modules from, HR, workforce core, talent management, workforce management, to supply chain order management and inventory. We can look at procurement. How does that relate to accounts payable? So all of these subject areas, all of these Fusion modules are already aggregated, curated, validated, and presented to the business in a way that facilitates reporting and analytics. And as you notice here, there's new content, new areas of Fusion being released on a quarterly basis. But the 1-2 punch with Fusion Analytics is you can plug in any of your operational third-party or industry-specific data, right? So what we do is give you that foundation based on all of your Oracle investments and facilitate the way to bring in all of your other important information that you need to run and analyze your business. And because we have this data foundation in place, we're able to populate these business use cases that are out of the box, presented to your end users to make these critical decisions. This is just a snapshot as we look at HR in the top right. We look at, supply chain and finance as well. So these are big value propositions, right? Being able to immediately look at an aggregate KPI and drill down to your subledger details, right? Understanding not only what attrition was within a certain business unit, but why the attrition happened within that business unit. And if we continue down this path, what do the next 6, 8, 12 months actually look like? So I believe we'll be sending this out. At the bottom here, we have a link to an externally facing content explorer. I encourage all of you to check it out. You can filter by module, by subject area, by KPI, and really get a sense of the full breadth of capabilities that we do offer out of the box. Because I can't do that all in one single slide here. But in most situations, as I speak with customers, they'll say, hey, but we still have this data in eBusiness Suite, or we really need our Salesforce data for this KPI. And I think that's where Miles and Apps Associates have been such an instrumental partner for us to build on this foundation we deliver and really make an analytics project like this the most impactful that it can. So with that, I believe, Miles, I will pass the mic over to you.
Okay, great. Thanks, Ben. So I'm Miles Gilson. I head up data and analytics at Apps Associates. So pleasure to be with everybody today. So you've just heard Ben talk about FAW providing pre-built analytics for Oracle Fusion Cloud applications, and it does that very well. But today I want to talk to you about an aspect of FAW that, as Ben said, doesn't really get talked about enough, but is a really powerful feature to FAW, and that is that FAW can be a platform for your enterprise data and analytics development. Okay, before I get into that, let's establish a baseline of what FAW is and what it includes. So when you hear that term FAW, you should think of a bundle, like a box, box on a holiday or something. And in that box, you get a variety of things from Oracle. So you're going to get a pre-built data pipeline from the Oracle Cloud applications into Fusion Analytics Warehouse, and Oracle builds that, and they own that data pipeline. You will get Autonomous Data Warehouse. That's Oracle's Cloud Data Warehouse, world-class Cloud Data Warehouse. You'll get Oracle Analytics Cloud. And Oracle Analytics Cloud, that is a full-blown version of Analytics Cloud. It's not a watered-down version. There aren't limitations, full-blown. So when you hear FAW, you're getting all of that. You're also getting a shared data model across all of these subject areas, which is really super important for cross-domain analytics. You'll get a pre-built semantic model. Not sure if you're familiar with that term, but the semantic model is a logical layer. It's where we define how the underlying tables are related to each other. It's also where we do things like give nice column headings so people don't have to see those horrible database names with all caps and underscores and all that. So the semantic model in many ways is the brains of an analytic system, and it supports self-service. Very often it's the differentiator between people having access to a database but really no idea what to do, and having access to a really nice analytical experience that's a nice drag and drop, and they don't keep running into roadblocks. By module, you get about 250 KPIs, reports, and dashboards that support cross-domain analytics. I should mention that FAW can be purchased by module. So you can purchase ERP analytics separately from HCM analytics, separately from SCM, that's supply chain management analytics. SCM, of course, is human capital. CX, customer experience, be coming out soon. Or you can purchase all of them at once. We have a current client where we're implementing ERP, HCM, and SCM all at the same time right now. So one of the aspects of FAW that we really love is in one fell swoop, in a very short period of time, a client of ours can go up the analytics maturity curve. And we work with so many customers who are struggling with siloed reports, data silos, and they're still kind of in that paradigm of a bunch of reports. Well, we have a report for this and we have a report for that. And they're not yet to that paradigm where they're thinking more about an analytical experience that supports strategic objectives, operational imperatives. It's really not so much about do you have the report, but do you have a console where you can get the answers you need to take the action that you need to take. That's what it looks like to move up the analytics maturity curve. And FAW does that. And how does it do that? Well, first of all, if you're using FAW, you're probably using a cloud application. And you're going to take a small step forward on the maturity curve just by virtue of that, because you will get OTBI and you'll get some nice subject areas and you'll be able to do operational reporting in real time against your application. So a bit of a step forward, but not all the way along for sure. Then with FAW, first thing you get is a cross-subject area data foundation. And I can't stress that enough in terms of moving up the analytics maturity curve. I've worked with too many clients who purchased a front-end reporting tool, and somehow they thought that tool was going to kind of magically resolve, source of truth issues and having people really being able to get at the data. Getting at the data typically isn't the problem. It's using the data and having it be meaningful data and using it in the manner that really enables the business to achieve its objectives. It's a whole different story. And for that, you need a nice data foundation that crosses a variety of subject areas. So you get that with FAW. You get KPIs, and KPIs are very important. I'm going to talk about that in a second. That's a real differentiator to reports. If you want to move up the maturity curve, you really need to bring in not just Oracle data, but if you have non-Oracle systems or even other modules in Oracle that are not covered by FAW, you really need to look across all of those data sources as though they were a single data set. And in the most advanced representation, you're going to use literally all your data, your Word documents, your PDFs, your images. You're going to use that and you're going to apply data science and machine learning. And that's supported by FAW, natively within FAW, and then also through the integration of FAW to some of the other OCI services. So we're very excited. We love when clients can move up that curve without having to do absolutely everything on their own. So here's a point about KPIs. So the initial interface of the out-of-the-box FAW are key performance indicators. And why is that important? Because if I give you an income statement, in and of itself, it's only marginally meaningful because very often it lacks context. You don't know what the budget is. Oh, gross profit margin was 20%. What was it supposed to be? Was it 30%? What was it last year? What was it last quarter? There's no context. So reports in and of themselves don't really get you where you need to go. But KPIs do, especially if those KPIs have the right context. So the KPIs that come with FAW, all of them come with a built-in target. They come with the visualization and they come with trending. So it's a KPI that allows you to very quickly understand how your business is going, how your operations are doing. And once an organization focuses on the right set of KPIs, they're able to dramatically change the action that they take. They waste much less time, and they're able to focus their effort on going after the key performance indicators that they have decided are meaningful. So we really like KPIs as an aspect, as an important aspect of FAW. Okay, so let's get into what I said previously. FAW is a platform for enterprise data and analytics development. How does that work? So I'm going to take a moment to explain this slide. FAW can be extended at all layers of the platform. So on the left-hand side, that's what Oracle provides. And that's what I mentioned earlier, working from the bottom up. You get the data pipeline, the data model, the semantic model, and the reports. This kind of green color on the right-hand side is how we can extend FAW. So the first point is there really are no limitations. You can bring in data from any data source. Doesn't matter what the data source is. It could be a non-Oracle application, could be on-prem, could be cloud, could be another Oracle module, could be the Oracle Clinical Trials module that is not, currently part of FAW. Doesn't matter. You could use any ETL tool you want. Of course, you could use Oracle, but if you wanted to use Informatica or Matillion or Talend, anything, you could use any ETL platform to bring the data in. And then the data gets brought into Autonomous Data Warehouse, the exact same Autonomous Data Warehouse instance that FAW is using. And that's very important. And that data model is up to you to customize. However you want to structure your data model, whatever tables you need, you can establish that. And once you've established your tables, then what you're going to do is define those tables to the Oracle delivered semantic model. Another really key point here, because that enables your users to have a unified and structured and frankly, easy to navigate analytic experience. It's not like this extension is this other thing. It's all part of FAW. And then of course you can create your reports and your dashboards. So this winds up being, and I have to say, it's a combination of software as a service. So you have these SaaS applications with platform as a service, where you've just got capabilities, you've got data warehouse, you've got reporting front end, you've got ETL, and it's a combination that really is unique in the cloud industry. You don't see this with the other clouds because they don't really have the applications, and they've not really built a pre-built data warehouse that can be extended. So here's some of the common use cases. Non-Oracle systems like Salesforce and Workday. Ben mentions EBS, kind of a common use case. If you're a big company, you might have a bunch of entities on Cloud ERP, but you still have a number of entities on EBS, and frankly, you want to bring it all together. So we do see that. Taleo is a recruiting system, ERP data. There might be some additional data from Cloud ERP. Now, most of the data comes across, but there might be some other data, and there's a way to augment the data pipeline, creating custom KPIs and reports and dashboards for sure. There's no way that Oracle knows what every report for every client looks like. So there's always some creation of reports and dashboards, and integration with Oracle's EPM, very often PBCS, Planning and Budgeting Cloud Service, common integration point because you want to get the budget and plate it up with the actual. Okay, I want to talk about machine learning in FAW because it really does elevate the analytical experience. And the machine learning with FAW is both implicit, it's behind the scenes, you're not seeing it, but it's doing things that make your experience quicker and better and frankly more satisfying. And it's also explicit, where there are features and capabilities where you can leverage machine learning. So first, as I mentioned, it's embedded, behind the scenes doing things. And one of the ways that comes across is there's a capability called Explain, where you can click on any data set and it will analyze that data set using machine learning algorithms and talk to you about business drivers and data anomalies. Any visualization can be rendered in English. You're going to see that in the demo. You can do one-click advanced analytics behind the scenes. It's leveraging machine learning algorithms to identify outliers, to build clusters, like if you want to do clusters of customers. And as I said, explicitly, there are pre-built machine learning algorithms that you can use as a citizen data scientist. If you would like to, say, train a machine learning model on some of your data and then apply that model to new data, you could do that. Don't need really any coding skills at all. And then for the professional data scientists, there's machine learning in ADW. There's about 30 machine learning algorithms, very sophisticated, that can be modified professional data scientists in ADW. So machine learning is really spread across FAW as an important aspect and will only continue. So let's look at the benefits of ADW. So probably the biggest one is, do you want to build from scratch or do you want to buy and extend? When you build from scratch, every little nook and cranny, every little, electricity outlet, every window, everything is on you. And it can take a lot of time and does take a lot of time. If you want to buy something and then extend it, then you shorten the time. So if you look at the benefits, speed to value is a big one. So you're up and running very, very quickly with a ton of content. And you're really focusing, as Ben said, on the business value of data. FAW improves with time. This is very different from the old world. In on-prem, you install that application in your data center and that's it. There's no new functionality until you apply a patch or you do an upgrade. With FAW, it's totally different. Oracle is rolling out quarterly updates and they're testing those updates. So the FAW you purchase today is going to be different than the FAW 2 years from now, and you're not really going to have to do anything for that. There's going to be new content. There'll be more machine learning. There'll be new visualizations, new dashboards. And that's just going to happen because Oracle now owns the entire technology stack. They don't have to worry about supporting 5 operating systems, let's say. Machine learning is built in, and you'll never have to do another upgrade. If you've done an upgrade, I know that you're hooting and hollering because upgrades are not fun, because basically you're just on a new platform, and a lot of times you don't even have any new functionality. And then importantly, and we're going to get into that, you can extend and customize FAW to be your enterprise data warehouse. And you can do that in a way where you're not building from scratch. Maintenance burden is pretty low. It's SaaS software, and then the platform as a service like ADW is autonomous. So you're not really having to do a ton of maintenance at all. No patches, no upgrades, all that. And then ADW, we should mention that ADW, Autonomous Data Warehouse, is a cloud data warehouse. It's just in and of itself, it's a world-class cloud data warehouse with exceptional performance. It auto scales. It's really a top-of-the-line cloud data warehouse, and that's built into FAW. So a lot of benefits here. Let's do this. Let's jump into the demo. So I'm going to jump over, and so I'm going to go into Fusion Analytics Warehouse, and I'm going to go to Projects. So this is in Fusion Analytics Warehouse. We go to the April 7th webinar, and we're going to start with medical devices. Excuse me, I had a couple of slides before I jumped in. So excited to get to the demo. I'm going to do a little bit of pre-slide here where I had 2 slides. The demo I'm about to show you is for life sciences and med device industry. And why is that? Because those are 2 industries where App Associates does a lot of work, and they have some unique requirements that are really not satisfied at the moment by FAW. You'll see that when I do the extensions. And we built a data warehouse data model. We extended the semantic model of FAW, and we built reports and dashboards. And what I'm about to show you is source system agnostic. Doesn't really matter what the source system is. We've got the data model, industry standard data model to support that. What you're going to see is not included in out-of-the-box FAW. There's no real redundancy. Wouldn't really make sense for us to build an extension if FAW is doing it. So it's very easy to set up and configure. And frankly, what I'm showing you here can be taken really for any industry or any extension. Could be insurance, brokerage, retail, manufacturing, entertainment, and media. So what did we build? So these arrows will show you what we built. So we built a data model. We instantiated that in Autonomous Data Warehouse. We populated it with test data because we don't want to show you client data. We extended the semantic model. Now that's a whole nother webinar. Oracle's made it very easy. They have a browser a wizard in a browser to let you extend the semantic model. And whatever you do will survive the upgrades that Oracle does. It's not really in the scope of this webinar to kind of take you through the detail of that, but it's very easy. And then we've got some reports and dashboards. And a really important point here, when you build these extensions, it's a unified solution. It's not like, oh, well, here's the Oracle part and here's the extension. It's a unified solution. Nobody would really have any idea that you extended it. So that's a very important point. Okay, now I will jump over to the, to the demo. I'm going to go into present mode here. And a couple things that I want to remind you about. You know, FAW comes with Oracle Analytics Cloud. So what you're seeing here, this is Oracle Analytics Cloud. FAW comes with Autonomous Data Warehouse. And the data that you're seeing here, every time I click, I am interacting with Autonomous Data Warehouse. This data is not in a spreadsheet. There's no smoke and mirrors here. It's an Autonomous Data Warehouse that comes with Fusion Analytics Warehouse. The other thing to keep in mind is this is an extension to the main house. Like when you're looking at this, you should remember there's a main house. Like you've probably purchased Cloud ERP, you've got General Ledger, AP, AR, you know, fixed asset, procurement, supply, order management, inventory, HR. So you've got that main house, and then you have this, you know, this extension. And importantly, that main house, that very often has your master data for your dimensions. That's very often where your customer master is, your product master, your financial accounts, your departments. And when you bring in non-Oracle data, you want to reuse those dimensions. And that's very important. So when we built this extension, we used the customer dimension from Oracle Cloud ERP. So we didn't want to recreate that. So now let me get into this. So this is medical devices. I'm going to show you 3 dashboards. The first one is service contracts. And again, we're just using this as an example of the kind of things you can do in FAW with extensions. So I've started off here with some dimensions and some filters. I'll just show you how this works. It's really very nice. You click on it and automatically the data will change. So as soon as I click, the data changes. You know, if I click here again, it will change again. There's no button where I kind of have to apply it. You know, if I click again, it'll leave, the data will leave. And we start off with performance tiles. These are called performance tiles to show some key metrics. In this case, customer churn, contract amount, and consumable amount. Do some trending by month. And here we've got contract amount by category. I'm going to right click and drill into, this drill down to detail is a very important aspect, very easy to set up. I'm going to drill into arthritis as a category, and I'm going to see all the devices with their serial numbers, the contract amount, and the upsell amount for that contract. And I'm going to be able to see, and it ties. And it's very easy to get back. I just click this button, hit return, and I go back. Very easy. Now this next chart has a piece of functionality that we really like and our customers really like. So this right here means that I can use this chart as a filter. When I click on this, which I'm going to do in a moment, this entire dashboard is going to be filtered on whatever I clicked on. And that's great because number one, you don't have to clutter up the top here with a bunch of filters. And number two, you know, maybe you built a dashboard and you didn't include everything up there. Maybe you just forgot something. You can use this chart as a filter. So I'm going to click on this right here, renewal status, up for renewal, category arthritis, and the entire dashboard is going to be filtered on that value. And you can see here, now this is category arthritis, and the renewal status is up for renewal. And I can kind of page through, I can go to nephrology, and that's going to change as well. Go to neuroscience, and that will change as well. So this is a feature that's really easy to set up, and people like that. If I want to get back to ground zero, I just click anywhere on that chart and it comes back. Now you might be saying, yeah, I like this chart. It's a little small, so I'm going to maximize it. This is called a scatter plot, which is great for looking at the relationship between 2 variables or 2 measures. Here we're looking at the relationship between cross-sell and upsell, meaning when we cross-sell, how much do we upsell and vice versa. And once you start looking at these advanced visualizations, you begin to get comfortable with information being conveyed in ways that you might not be used to in traditional reports. Like here, colors mean something and shapes mean something. So a color is a customer and a shape is a category. So now you can see here that this looks like it's kind of a somewhat of a nice linear progression. There's not a lot of outliers, but within a customer, within a category, maybe there is a lot of variability. So how do I zero in on just a customer or just a category? So there's a couple ways to do that. If I hover over customer, the only thing highlighted will be that customer or that category. So I'm reminded that circle is arthritis. There's another way to do that. I could right click and say keep selected. And then all I'm going to see on this chart is what I've selected. So we can see in elite industries, there is a pretty good degree of variability from an amount standpoint. So I'll click the return button and I'll go back. So very, very easy to go back. And then at the bottom of our dashboards, we often have a table. Some people just like to see the detail. They like to see a table. And I can do things like I can do one-click sort ascending. I can click and do a subtotal. Now I've got a subtotal by customer. You can see right here, subtotal by customer. So it's really not, it's not fully static. There are things you can do. You know, and then we always get this question, you know, can I export? And as people that do analytics for a living and with the great features of Oracle Analytics Cloud, we're not necessarily espousing the idea of exporting to say Excel or something like that, but we do understand sometimes it makes sense, sometimes it's necessary. So you can export to PowerPoint or Acrobat PDF or an image, or you can export just the data, and you can do that either for the entire dashboard or just the active visualization or all the dashboards. So that's a common question we get, and we definitely need to cover that. So that's service contracts. I'm now going to jump over into field service. So again, we're talking about medical devices. These devices are out there in the field and they need to be serviced. And these service requests come in. But this could be for any type of service request. This could be for an IT service request, or really any type of service request. So here we're starting with here another drill down. I think you're getting the picture there. Drill down is sorry about that. Drill down is very, very easy. I want to show you this. This chart here has a line. Now this is a median line, and this is part of the advanced analytics. Now let's take a look at how hard it is to get that line on that chart. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to the visualize. Now I was in present mode. This is where you build these visualizations. And not everybody would have access to this, but if you do have security access, it's really very, very simple. So I'm going to maximize this. I'm going to click on it, and I'm going to go here to advanced analytics. And this is one-click advanced analytics. You can identify clusters, outliers, add reference lines or trend lines, or even forecasts just with one click. I'm going to go down here, and this line right here, this is a reference line. This is a line, and the function is median. It could have been average, the average line. It could be, hey, show me the minimum. And getting that reference line on there is really easy, just drag and drop. So I've just added another reference line. This one is an average. So now I'm seeing average and minimum. And if I wanted to remove it, just click an X. Doesn't even have to be a line. It could be a band. And now I've got average and maximum. So really kind of things that you really can't do in your traditional old school type analytics tools. And I'll go back into present mode here. And now I'm going to say, let's look at this. We've got service request by problem type. And then right next to it, we've got this English language description of this chart. Now, I'm not going to take a poll, but raise your hand at home in silence. If somebody's ever put a chart in front of you, you had no idea what the chart was telling you, but you nodded your head, pretending like everybody else in the room that you actually know what the chart is telling you. I know we've all done it. I will raise my hand. I have done it, not proud of it. So first of all, we try not to make charts like that, but it happens in the world of analytics and charts. But a nice English language description really helps people understand what's going on. So how is this happening? Well, first of all, it's machine learning, it's natural language processing in the background. But let's take a look, what's going on here? Is this hard to do? Well, it turns out it's not hard to do. So this again is the kind of creation palette where you create these things in the upper left-hand corner. Here are all the visualizations that you can use really for any one of these charts. And to change a visualization is very easy. And it turns out this English language description, it's just a type of visualization. It's no different than a table. So you can see I clicked on table. Now I have a table. I could click on a chord diagram. It's kind of an advanced visualization, a chord diagram. It's just another visualization. If I want to go back to language narrative, I just click on language narrative. So really, very nice feature there. Our customers tend to really enjoy that. Now, I've said to you, hey, this is an extension. Don't forget the main house. This is an extension to the main house. You might say, okay, that's great, but what if I want to get some analytics from that main house? I want to get it on this dashboard. I don't want this to just be the extension stuff. I need some from the main house. I need whatever, AP or AR, or whatever. How hard is that? Well, let's take a look, okay? So I'm going to go back to the visualization area here. Again, you would only, have access to this if you had security clearance. I'm going to click here. I'm going to say add data set. I'm going to go to subject areas. Now this subject area, just give it a minute there. This AP subject area, this is an out-of-the-box subject area in accounts payable. So I'm going to add this to the workbook, and you're going to see a lot of good information here. None of this was built by any customer that purchased FAW. This is all delivered with FAW. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go into ledger currency. Let me just expand this a little bit. I'll take the liability balance amount. I'm going to go up here to supplier. I'll take supplier name. I'm going to bring that over. I'm going to add it to the canvas, as we say. And I'm going to make it be a table. I know everyone can understand a table, but I could make it anything. I'm just going to reposition it a little bit because I want it to be under the performance tiles like everything else. I want it to look good. And that's really it. That took 30 seconds. So then I'm going to go back to present mode. And now I've got my, my AP balances right here from an out of the box subject area with everything else. So it's very, very easy to use there. I'm going to show you the third dashboard in our medical devices distribution. So this is the install base. Again, this is all about the install base with no warranty, average age. And again, when you see this symbol, that means, oh, I can use this chart as a filter. So in this case, I'm going to filter on warranty status and category, neither of which are up here as a filter. So this is great. I'm going to click on that. The whole dashboard is going to change. And this is really great. Even the English language generation changed. So now I've got new text here. So now it's telling me that less than 1 year is 58.7%. So now I'm going to go back to what it was. And you're starting to see some patterns here. I could drill down here. I'm not going to. You kind of get that pattern just in the interest of time. I'm going to jump over to our life sciences analytic extension. So I'm in Fusion Analytics Warehouse. I'll go here. I'm going to go to life sciences. And again, we're just using this as an example. This could be really any industry. But I've got to do a quick explanation of what you're seeing here. So in the life sciences space, healthcare, within the quality area of quality, CAPAs are very important. CAPA stands for corrective action, preventive action. And a CAPA is a formal document. Each CAPA gets its own ID. You have to track your CAPAs. Your regulators will look at all of your CAPAs. They'll look at how long it takes you. And a CAPA could be an issue with your machinery, with your lab, with your environment. It's too hot, it's too cold, with your processes, with your documentation. It could be literally anything. So very, very important to track. and kappas will have issues. So this is a dimension that's unique to this extension. Department, not unique to this extension. Department is, from the main house, from the ERP. And then, kappas will have categories. Now you can see here, this performance tile, average resolution time, this is red. Why is it red? Well, that's conditional formatting. Every one of these performance tiles could have conditional formatting related to them. So let's take a look at how hard that is to do. Does that require programming? Who could do that? So literally all I need to do is highlight this little button here and create the rule. So this rule is called, average resolution time threshold. We basically say, hey, look, if it's over 450, make it red. So really very, very easy. I don't think it could be any easier. And then, if you look at some of these charts, this is another example of an analytic chart that really is an example of advanced analytics, because it's conveying information like lack of cross-functionality has the most resolution time. Resolution time is a color, number of issues is a shape. So very quickly you can see, oh, I see, that's where we have our most issues, that's where we have most resolution time. Got some nice trending here. Again, we could drill into, you're kind of getting the how that works with drilling in. So here's kappas with all the kappa IDs. I could return. And then, I don't know about you, I really like this feature. Whenever I see a chart like this, it kind of bothers me. I want to sort it, and I feel off until I sort it. And then I sort it, number of issues, high to low, instant relief there. We've got some order. Maybe that's why I work in analytics, but I like that. So, and then of course, as I said, we have these tables for some good detail. I'm going to speed up just a little bit because you're kind of getting the drill here. Validation and change control, another area very important to healthcare, life sciences, medical devices, the validation process. And that's a very scripted process. It's not just, user testing. It's very, very important. So we've got some dimensions that, again, these are extensions. These are not part of FAW. Error categories and the grades of protocol deviation. Got some performance tiles. I want to call out, this is another example, and you have to decide whether you'd be using this or not, but people that come to start to look at these charts, they really do like the use of color. So this is a crosstab showing resolution time between protocol deviation and error category. What's interesting about this, the number in the cell, that's the resolution time. So here we've got 33 hours of resolution time, but the color is the number of errors. And if I hover over that, it's going to tell me the number of errors. And once you get to the point where these dashboards are being updated in an automatic fashion, you can trust the data and you get used to these visualizations, the colors and the shapes, you very, very quickly, you digest information much, much more quickly than you used to looking at traditional reports. And I'll wrap up here with inspections. Again, another aspect important to kind of life sciences and healthcare and pharma and biopharma. And what I want to point out here, we have the performance tiles, we've got some trending, open sites, got another scatter plot, and this scatter plot does not have a linear progression. This is kind of all over the map. And that's one of the good things about a scatter plot. What we're showing here is the relationship of inspection time to different types of inspections and different severity. So again, a great way to isolate information is to do keep selected. So if I do keep selected on severity high, I can see that there's a huge disparity between the average inspection resolution for this kind of inspection when severity is high versus this kind of inspection. So again, when you think about having this dashboard updated in an automated manner where you can trust the data, you're looking at it maybe on a daily basis, maybe a weekly basis, you start, things jump out at you and things go much more quickly. Okay, so that's it for the demo. I'm going to jump back in and then we're going to go to questions. Just a couple more slides here. Let me go into presentation mode. So we've got Apps Associates has a quick start offering for FAW that I'd like to mention here. you can read any one module, ERP or SCM or HCM, would be 6 weeks and $58,000. So, I mean, that's dramatically different than building a data warehouse from scratch that, for instance, covers GLA, PAR, fixed assets, and procurement. You don't do that in 6 weeks, but you will with FAW, or if you want to do supply chain or HCM. Any two together, 8 weeks and 68K, any three, 100K. Now, we don't know what your analytic extensions will be. We don't know what your extension use cases are. We don't know what other data sources you want to bring in. So we haven't priced that into our offering, but certainly would be happy to discuss with you about this quick start offering or what you think some of your extension use cases are. And of course, obviously, if you're interested in our life sciences or medical device extensions, then we would implement those. Those we would implement everything you saw today would be part of the quick start. But again, we have not built the ETL to pull out of your data sources and load in because we don't know what your data sources are yet. But our quick start offering does include some custom components. So when we do the quick start offering, for each module, we will create 10 custom KPIs, 10 custom reports, and 3 custom dashboards. So if you want to implement, say, ERP and SCM, we would create 20 custom KPIs and 20 custom dashboards. And we also include 2 weeks of post-go live hypercare support that's included, in what you just saw, the 6 weeks and 58K. Okay, so I think now we're going to go into a Q&A. I want to, thank you in advance for your time today and kind of going through that. Yes, I'll turn it over to Ken or Carl.
Hey, Miles, thanks for that. That's some pretty cool stuff. And I really like your perspective on reusing what comes with the Fusion Analytics Foundation and leveraging that as we talk about these other data sources that matter. There are a couple questions in the chat just about, hey, I'm an on-prem Oracle Analytics customer. How does this fit in, right? So, depending on where you are in your cloud modernization, right? Either you've moved a portion or all of those applications to Oracle Cloud, right? And with these pre-existing systems, they were architected and engineered for those on-prem source applications, right? So as those applications inevitably change, there's really a catalyst event for either something that needs to be retweaked as these source systems change. And Fusion Analytics is often that kind of kickstart in the future state, right? Where you can go and you can grab some of that on-premise data, or if you have certain modules that may be implemented a few years down the line. So we do see that as a common use case where, core financials is in the cloud, but maybe manufacturing is still on premise or something along those lines. So those hybrid deployments are certainly viable, but when we talk about product migrations from on-prem to the cloud, they are fundamentally different in the way that they're architected.
For sure.
Any other questions? Feel free to pose them in the chat. If not, I'll share some common questions that I get kind of in the day-to-day here. Okay, well, I would say one of the questions I get asked the most is, hey, we're implementing EPM. We have Oracle Cloud applications. So we have OTBI. We're doing some BI publisher reports. We have Financial Reporting Studio. Where does Fusion Analytics fit in here, right? What's the best tool for the best use case, right? So when I think about these, Fusion Analytics really fills that strategic analysis type of a reporting structure. So as OTBI is going to give you that real-time reporting within the application, Fusion Analytics is going to be, hey, here's how my business is performing quarter over quarter, month over month, and it'll expose that data in a KPI, but in the same interface that you can drill all the way down to the details, and then you can even drill back into the application itself. So that tight-knit integration holds true from a reporting perspective. And if you have any questions about your use cases specifically, Miles, myself, Lane, and the rest of the Fusion Analytics team would be happy to dive into that with you.
One great question is, and this is to you, Miles, how long does it usually take to implement, configure, and get trained?
So we've, as I said, we've got several projects in flight, leveraging our quick start. We're happy to report that those are realistic timeframes there. So we've got 6 weeks to get up and running on, say, ERP analytics. We've got a client where we're getting up and running on ERP, but we're also integrating, physically integrating data from PBCS. We're also bringing in some data from a historical legacy data warehouse, and we're doing that in 11 weeks. So, we're not, got another client implementing all 3 quick starts. We're, as I say, we're doing that in 11 weeks. So, we're up and running very, very quickly. The amount of content that is up and running would be, if you started from scratch, every layer of the architecture, the ETL, the data model, the semantic model, the reports and the dashboards, you're looking at 9 months, maybe 12 months for the amount of content that we're getting up in, 6 to 10, 11 weeks.
There's a question here, Miles, about emails being bursted and sent to recipients. So that is an option, right? So the BI publisher that you're familiar with in the Fusion application, there's a similar flavor of that in Fusion Analytics, right? I would say that the KPI interface is really designed to be very, very business user friendly and very interactive. So in the sense that an individual user can have their own KPIs and decks, and really kind of have it customized to what they care about the most, and then have the ability to maybe just add a filter, right? Or, change the time comparison. So that level of interactivity, we really try to encourage. I know it's a little cliche, but we're trying to democratize analytics in the sense that if you're a very casual business user, or you're an analyst in the data every day, that there are aspects of this tool that you would see and take value from. So while we do have that bursting kind of capability, we certainly encourage more people to use the front end of the tool, even if it's just their own KPIs.
Yeah. And I'll chime in that, Ben, I agree with you, but we've definitely come across where it's kind of like, hey, listen, I've got managers in the field. They're a little bit old school. We want to become a data-driven organization. We want to have them focus on a set of KPIs that that they can impact, and sometimes you got to start with the email and the PDF as a starting point. But the great thing is, what we've done in the past is we send that PDF, but we give the link. We go, hey, you could look at these online. You could look at these on your mobile phone. And over time, you can kind of wean them off the PDF, because when they click on that link, they'll go to the KPIs in FAW, and they'll see the exact same KPIs that they're seeing in the PDF. So a little bit of crawl, walk, run, but know where you're coming from.
Yeah, and it's all about change management, right? I think with any new analytic project, it's ensuring that your end users are going to use and take value from the tool that you have. So in addition to the work that Miles and Apps Associates do throughout the implementation, Lane and I often do hands-on workshops, with our customers, with our prospects, right? Getting familiarity with the tool. Here's how I can change a KPI. So that type of stuff, focusing on user adoption. We have a strong community, both internally at Oracle and with our partner network.
Yeah. And Ben, one question that I get, I mentioned it, but I do want to emphasize it, because I do get the question a lot, and it's kind of about limitations with respect to autonomous data warehouse or even OAC, because they're part of FAW. Sometimes when people are talking to me, they're kind of thinking, well, okay, it's autonomous data warehouse, but it's part of FAW. So there must be some limitation, some things I can't do. Maybe there's a limit on the data that I could put in there. It's just kind of this sense from the on-prem days that, oh, they've embedded it in this product, so there are a bunch of things I can't do. And I just, I want to re-emphasize, I get that question all the time. I just want to re-emphasize that, that autonomous data warehouse is, that's a full-blown autonomous data warehouse. There's really nothing you can't do there. And same thing, there's no limit in terms of data, as I mentioned. And on the OAC side, that's a full-blown OAC, inclusive of things like BI Publisher and report bursting and everything that you might already know about with respect to OAC. So I just want to emphasize that. I get that question a lot.
Yep. Oh yeah, that's a good one. We got a couple other good ones here. I just want to call out. I know we're running low on time, but additional tools for extensibility. So really the only additional tool would be how you want to land that data into the autonomous database, right? So we have a tool called Oracle Data Integrator. It is quote unquote free. We just charge for the compute that it's required. But we do charge for the storage of that third-party non-Fusion data, right? We have customers loading in, hundreds of thousands of custom subledger transactions from another application, or all of their payroll data from ADP, right? So we can't just let you load as much data, without limits. So we cover all of the Fusion data as part of the subscription, and it's a nominal fee to load third-party data into there. But the tool was architected to extend to these other data sources. So we've really built that into the core functionality. Another question on costs after the initial up and running costs. And I would say, generally it depends on the use case, but Oracle manages this solution for you, right? So for every upgrade at the application level, we certify it and make sure it doesn't break. We make sure that the pipeline runs effectively on a daily basis. So that data lifecycle is really managed as a service, very similar to your SaaS application investment. As you look at some of these extensibility use cases we discussed with Miles, some of the management of the custom extensions is on the customer to kind of manage, right? Because we don't know what those data sources are. But for all of your core Fusion data, that data foundation that I started with, as part of the service, Oracle's really managing and maintaining that for you. Well, appreciate the questions. I love an active Q&A here. All right. Well, that might be it. If there's any final call for questions. If not, please feel free to reach out to Miles, myself, Lane. We'd love to talk to you about your use cases, what you thought of this webinar, or anything else we can do for you.
Excellent. Well, thank you, Ben and Lane. Always a pleasure to present with you guys. Love our partnership. And we look forward to working with additional clients. So it's a great platform, and we love working with it and extending it. So thanks, everyone, for today.
Thanks. Have a great day.
Okay. Bye now.